Sunday, September 7th. It won't just be another kickoff. It won't just be another NFL season. It'll be a reckoning for quarterbacks trying to prove they belong, for coaches starting over, for franchises chasing redemption after heartbreak, disappointment, or years lost in the wilderness.
We're going to go through all 16 Week 1 games. I'm going to give you my picks and predictions for each one of those games, guys.
And CBS, rolling into its 66th year of NFL coverage, is opening the gates with 6 heavyweight matchups that offer no soft landings. Every game carries a storyline. Every snap might just shape the rest of the year. And make no mistake, what happens in Week 1 doesn't always stay in Week 1. For some teams, this is the first step toward glory. For others, it's the beginning of another unraveling. Let's start in the North. Packers, Lions, Lambeau Field. The air won't be cold yet, but the stakes will be. Detroit, fresh off a 14-win season that earned them the NFC's top seed and the only first-round bye, return with unfinished business. Last season, they looked like the team of destiny, until the playoffs reminded us how fragile dreams can be. Injuries, missed chances, and a crushing loss to Washington sent them home too early. Now they're back, battered maybe, but more focused than ever. Across from them, a Green Bay team that no one's talking about, and they love it that way. Jordan Love is no longer a placeholder, he's the guy now, and with weapons like Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and rookie spark plugs Matthew Golden and Savin Williams, the offense feels younger, faster, and far more creative. On the line, Elton Jenkins slides to center, potentially an all-pro move that anchors everything. And defensively, Jeff Hafley has spent the offseason quietly tuning a unit that wants to prove it belongs with the best in the league. They're not the sexy pick. They're not even the loudest. But don't be surprised if this Week 1 tilt decides more than just bragging rights. In a division this tight, a single early win might be the edge in December.
And let's run through a few notables of our collection. Steelers at Jets. Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields switching teams in the offseason. After the Rodgers experiment failed at MetLife, Jets cutting ties with the future Hall of Famer and signing Fields to a 2-year deal.
Then, just a few hundred miles east, MetLife Stadium sets the stage for something more personal. Jets, Steelers. The Rodgers era in New York is over before it even began. 4 plays, 1 torn Achilles, 0 playoff appearances. The hype burned out fast, and the front office didn't blink. They moved on. Justin Fields is now under center, signed to a 2-year deal that feels less like a test and more like a demand. He's been told, "This is your moment. Don't waste it." Fields steps into a team that's loaded on both sides of the ball. The Jets' defense still flies fast, hits hard, and talks louder than anyone. But their biggest offseason move wasn't on the roster, it was on the headset. Aaron Glenn is now the head coach, bringing intensity, discipline, and a whole lot of fire. Fields will have to earn every yard in this debut because the Steelers aren't just showing up to watch. Pittsburgh's retooled, reinvigorated, and as hungry as ever. For Fields, Week 1 is more than just a start. It's a warning. Fail here, and the noise starts again.
CBS Sports entering its 66th year of coverage of the NFL, and it is going to be interesting not only to see what these guys have to say, of course, on a weekly basis, but the weekly fixture that is Charles Davis. He will be, of course, calling the games for us here on CBS, and let's bring in CD to talk about the NFL on CBS Week 1.
Meanwhile, out west, there's a matchup that feels like a playoff game wrapped in September clothing. Rams versus Texans at SoFi. Houston enters this year on a high, back-to-back NFC South titles, a rapidly maturing CJ Stroud, and a roster that feels one step away from something great. But they'll need to be sharper than ever because the Rams, they're not fading quietly. Matthew Stafford is back on a $44 million deal, looking to prove there's still gas in the tank. Puka Nakua's breakout last year gave the Rams new life, and now, with Devontae Adams brought in to replace the aging Cooper Kupp, the whiteout room feels dangerous again. But this game isn't about quarterbacks. It's about war in the trenches. The Rams' defensive front is young, violent, and ready. Jared Verse, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, all fast, all relentless. They'll be in Stroud's face from the first snap. But Houston's O-line isn't the same group they were 2 years ago. They've been rebuilt, reinforced, and behind that line, Stroud has weapons. Joe Mixon returns, but now he's got Nick Chubb behind him. Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Noel offer route versatility and yards after catch. And don't forget, Houston's new OC, Nick Caley, is a branch off the Sean McVay tree. He knows this Rams defense. He knows where the cracks are. Question is, can he exploit them before they close?
Let's start in the NFC North. I know you can't win the division week 1, but boy, a blockbuster matchup there with the Lions and Packers.
And Tommy, it's always great to spend time with you. And the way that you started, you can't win it, but it almost feels like this time of year when golf is predominant, that's what they always talk about on the weekend, right? You can't win the tournament Thursday, Friday, but you can shoot yourself out of it. Can that happen early with Detroit and Green Bay? Meaning, yes, it's just one game, but will that one game be the decider when it's all said and done because of how tight that division was? Remember?
And then there's the AFC East, a division that's somehow more unpredictable than ever. Buffalo remains king of the hill for now, but the climb is getting steeper. The Dolphins? People are already writing them off, especially after trading away Jalen Ramsey. But let's not forget, under Mike McDaniel, Miami has started 3-1 in back-to-back seasons. They play fast, they play loose, and they're dangerous in early weeks. Their opener? Indianapolis. And while the Colts are still figuring out who their quarterback is, Miami might just be circling that game as a statement. But the team turning heads right now? New England. They didn't just retool, they tore it all down and built from the studs. Mike Vrabel is the new boss. On defense, they brought in Milton Williams, Harold Landry, and Robert Spillane. On offense, they made headlines by bringing in Stephon Diggs. And up front, Morgan Moses, Will Campbell, and Garrett Bradbury give this team a whole new look in the trenches. The Patriots feel different, and their Week 1 opponent, the Las Vegas Raiders under Pete Carroll, will be the first to find out just how different they are.
But Green Bay also made the playoffs out of that division last year, so they feel like they're the team that's not talked about a bunch. They feel like they've made some improvement with Jeff Hafley as their defensive coordinator starting beginning last year, and they continue to do that. They feel like they've made a lot of improvement with their offensive line. Elton Jenkins, I think, can be an all-pro anywhere he plays. They're going to move him inside to center. I think this is a good thing for them.
But no storyline might be wilder than what's happening in Arizona. Analyst Ledosable says the Cardinals, yes, those Cardinals, are his pick to win the NFC West. And believe it or not, it's not just hot air. Last year, Arizona started slow, but clawed their way to 6-4 before losing their grip. Now, they've added Paris Johnson Jr. to protect Kyler Murray and landed Marvin Harrison Jr. to give him a true WR1 threat. The defense under Nick Rallis is gritty, disruptive, and surprisingly deep. Arizona isn't just hoping anymore, they're building. Still, if you're asking who owns that division today, it's the Rams. They've got experience, balance, and arguably one of the most versatile defensive fronts in the league. Stafford still commands respect. The coaching tree is deep, and they're not ready to hand the crown over to a flashy rebuild. The Cardinals may have hype, but the Rams have hardware.
They got Aaron Banks to play guard from San Francisco. And this could be the big jump year for Jordan Love at quarterback. They're not talking about the Packers as much, but they feel like maybe they can figure into this thing. And last year, Tommy, our first game of the year was New England at Cincinnati.
And now we zoom out. 6 games, 6 stories. But the bigger story? This is where the tone of the season gets set. These aren't just openers, they're first impressions. And in this league, those impressions stick. Last year, New England upset Cincinnati in Week 1. No big deal, right? Except Cincinnati missed the playoffs by 1 game. That game. It happens every year. Some team stumbles out of the gate and spends the next 17 weeks trying to claw their way back. Some quarterback finds magic early and never lets go. Some coach loses the locker room before Week 2. The NFL doesn't wait. There are no warm-ups. You either show up in September ready to run, or you get left behind. CBS is throwing 6 spotlights on the chaos this Sunday. Who rises? Who crumbles? Who walks into Week 1 with swagger and walks out shell-shocked? We'll find out soon enough.